If you've ever played FIFA career mode, then you've probably made a mistake. Whether you accidentally overpay for a player or you forget to renew a player's contract, here are the most common mistakes in FIFA career mode and how to avoid them. So the first mistake is accidentally paying a player wages that are way too high. It's important to get this right because if you accidentally pay a player too much, you'll get sacked. You could not be paying attention and accidentally pay a player $1 million a week instead of 100,000. The player will of course accept this higher wage because they want the money, but the club will sack you in a few days for wasting their money. So in this case, I accidentally paid De Bruyne $3 million a week instead of 300,000. And as you can see here, we've been sacked for paying De Bruyne way too much money. Now this next one's kind of similar, but it's about the release clause. If you give a player a release clause, make sure you pay attention to how much that release clause is. In a similar way to the wages, if you set this release clause too low, then the club will sack you because that means that you could lose that player for a really low price. As you can see, Grealish's market value is 39.5 million, but his release clause is only £1. And of course we've been sacked because Grealish's release clause is way lower than his market value. So yeah, two very similar ones, but basically the point is just pay attention to your release clauses and your player wages because it's quite easy to get it wrong and then get sacked. So the next one has to do with loans, and it's whether you're loaning a player in or loaning a player out. Make sure you negotiate a loan rather than just delegating or accepting the offer. If another club's offered to loan your player, if you accept it, you'll have to pay 100% of the wages. And if you're loaning a player in, you should also negotiate rather than delegate so that you can get the best offer and not have to pay all the wages. This is especially important if you're a smaller club with a small wage budget. Because we just accepted this loan offer without negotiating, we have to pay 100% of the wages. And that's why you should negotiate. With the exception being that if it's a loan offer with an option to buy, and you don't want them to be an option to buy, then you have to delegate. This is because if you negotiate and ask for a normal loan, they'll just walk straight out. So instead you should delegate and switch the type of deal from loan with an option to buy to just loan and then wait for them to accept it. So the mistake to avoid for normal loans is just accepting the offer because that means you have to pay 100% of the wages. And with loans with an option to buy, the mistake you're making is negotiating because for those type of loans, instead you need to delegate, otherwise they'll just walk out. The next mistake is not scouting players. Now it's tempting to just guess a player's value and not scout them. However, it's easy to get this value wrong. However, if you don't scout him, you wouldn't know that. And when I bought him in another career mode, I had 20 million left in my budget and I spent it all on him. And it turns out he's only worth 9 million. The problem is, if you're at the end of a transfer window, you won't have time to scout a player because it usually takes 9 to 18 days. Go on a website called sofifa.com and you can search up the player and find their overall potential and value. This is especially important if you're managing a club with a low transfer budget because you can't afford to waste any money. Now the next mistake I see people making in FIFA career mode is ignoring player development and not understanding it. Now there's a few main factors that affect how a player develops and grows, and they are game time, performance and development plans. Game time is how many games a player gets in a season. Performance is how well a player does in these games. And development plans are what we have here. You can change a player's development plan to make them grow faster. For example, with this player here, if we leave him on balance, then it will take him 25 weeks to reach 75 overall. But if we put him on wide midfielder, it only takes 15 weeks. And a player will also grow faster if they play well and they play a lot of games. Now this links to dynamic potential, and so at the end of a season or when a player transfers to another club, their potential can go up or down. The problem with buying all these young players and then not using them is that at the end of the season, their potential will decrease for the next season, and so they won't reach their potential. That's the end of this video. If you did enjoy or found it helpful, then please consider subscribing and help us reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers. And if you want to find out how to glitch any player's potential all the way to 99, then click the end screen here.